Everything seems good, Queen Letitia. I can't detect any problem with the baby's heartbeat, though I suggest you avoid getting stressed, as it isn't good for either of you. That's about it. Are you sure? I asked, still worried. Even though he said the baby was fine, I still wanted to make sure. I had quite a scare this morning when I woke up due to the pain I felt underneath my stomach, and it worsened, with me panicking when I saw a blood stain on the bed. Luca gave me a smile before answering. You don't have to worry about the blood, Your Majesty. It's just your body adjusting to accumulate as he or she grows. I nod, letting out a sigh of relief. Thank you for coming. You don't need to thank me, I was just doing my job, he said, tidying up his things, and he bowed at me before making his way to the door, pulling it open. My breath ceased when I caught sight of Darium staying there. His eyes shifted in my direction, scanning me up and down, checking to see if everything was okay. I thought I saw him exhale, half expecting him to walk into the room, but he didn't. Instead, he seemed to be having a conversation with Luca, who was telling him about my checkup and the health of the baby. After he was satisfied with his answer, he glanced in my direction again, and I saw his step flatter, like he was holding himself back from coming in. My heart beat faster, and I found myself hoping that he would take the lead, choosing to come inside, but instead he sighs, reaching for the handle of the door and pulling it close. A dejected feeling filled me up, and I found myself sulky on the bed. I pulled the quilt up to my neck as I laid back down, trying to rid myself of every stressful thought. My body began getting weak, and slowly I found myself drifting off to sleep. When I woke up, it was late in the afternoon, with me feeling a bit more like myself and energetic. I moved from the bed to sit by the window while Gala went to the kitchen to get my midday meal. Kiva stood behind me, keeping me company as we stared at the small garden of blue iris. It wasn't long before Gala returned with a plate of soup and a glass of water. She looked very nervous for some reason, I don't know what it is, but she had been acting strange for the past 2 days, avoiding eye contact with me and keeping to herself. Making me wonder if everything was okay, or perhaps she was beginning to feel a bit homesick and miss her family back in Ahades. So I planned on making arrangements to see if I could bring them to Nisha's, so she wouldn't have to miss them so much. Picking up the spoon, I scoop a spoonful of soup and bring it up to my mouth when I feel something cold on my skin. My lady, I'm sorry. Gala immediately apologized as I stared at the water that was in the cup, dripping down my clothes. It's okay, it was a mistake, I say to her, staring at the spoon I had been holding, which is now lying on the ground. Lady Letitia, it's best you change out of your wet dress, Kiva said, helping me up to my feet while Gala stared at the ground, fiddling with her fingers. I placed my hand on her shoulder, making her yelp a little and look delirious for a second before relaxing. You don't need to beat yourself up, it's just water, I say to her, giving her a smile, trying to ease her nerves, but I get the opposite reaction I was expecting, as Gala bursts out crying. I was taken aback at first by seeing her cry this way, then leaned in, wrapping my arms around her and patting her back as she cried even more. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She kept repeating those words, crying. It's okay, it's okay. Everything is going to be just fine, I whispered. I'm sorry, my lady. I had no idea what she was apologizing for, but all I cared about was her and making sure she was calm. I took a step back, wiping the tears from both sides of her cheek and staring into her eyes while giving her a smile. I forgive you. You do? She asked, hiccuping. Yes, I do. Now quit crying. I say it with a playful sternness, causing her to laugh. The smile washed off her face for a brief moment when she glanced behind me before lilting up her face. It's best if you go change, Your Highness, we don't want you catching a cold. She says this, putting a distance between us. Don't be silly, I can't really get sick just because a cup of water was poured on me, I counter, walking over to the changing room. Kiva helped me out of my dress and into a new one without wasting any time, and we returned back to the room only to find it empty, with Gala and the plate of soup missing. I guess Gala went to hit up the soup, I will go check on her, Kiva said, heading out of the door. Having nothing to do, I returned to my seat by the window, staring at the blue iris and waiting for their return. 30 minutes passed, and yet none of them were back from the room. I tried not to be bothered about it. Maybe there was a delay in the kitchen. My stomach grumbled, alerting me to the fact that I haven't had a proper meal since morning. Feeling a bit impatient and hungry, I got up from my seat and was about to make my way out of the room when a loud, piercing scream halted my step for a second. Once I regained myself, I rushed out of the room, trying to follow the sound of where the scream came from. I saw the servants gathering around something, which piqued my curiosity, and I took a closer step when Kiva's distraught form came to block me. "My lady, I think it's best you return back to the chamber. I believe this sight won't be pleasing for you." She said it with a pleading look, trying to block my view. I heard a scream. "Kiva, the servants are gathering around there, definitely something happened, and I plan on finding out what it is," I said, walking past her. The servants began clearing their way when they saw me coming. I was able to catch sight of a female in a maid's uniform lying in a pool of blood, but before I could see who it was, another figure stood in front of me. The person was huge and was able to block my view of the body laying on the ground. I slowly raised my head up, coming eye to eye with Darium, who was looking at me with emotions I couldn't understand. I wasn't sure if it was sadness or pity. "Letitia, your handmaid is right. This isn't a sight you want to see," he whispered softly. I glanced into his eyes, trying to understand why he wanted me to leave. I didn't know what came over me. Was it hunger, or was I just pissed that he thought he could make decisions for me because he thought I couldn't handle it? I found myself snapping harshly at him. "Why? What secrets do you plan on keeping from me now?" Darium's face contoured a look of hurt, and I instantly felt guilty. He sighs before moving away slowly, showing me the face of the girl lying in the pool of her blood, and a loud, piercing scream leaves my lips. "Gala."
Darium's POV.
"Gala!" Letitia screamed out again, rushing over to the handmaid laying lifeless on the floor and cuddling her body closer to her. The tears gushed out of her eyes, and she stared at the young maid like she couldn't believe her eyes. Letitia softly hits her cheek as a way of trying to wake her up, and my heart breaks at the sight of it. "Gala, gal, quit joking. Open your eyes." Letitia cries out, shaking the body in her hold. "Gal, this isn't funny, Gala. Open your eyes." Murmurs filled the room as more servants continued to crowd the hallway, trying to see what was going on. "Get back to work!" My voice boomed across the room, and they all bowed, rushing out of the room while murmuring amongst themselves. In no time, the room was empty, with a few of the guards around and the other handmaid, Kiva, who stood across the room, close to the entrance, with a hand to her mouth as she sobbed. I glanced back at Letitia, seeing her still trying to wake the maid up. I know this was heartbreaking for her. She had told me how much she considered the Hades maid a sister. I took a step towards her and wrapped my hand around her, trying to get her away from the body, but she kept struggling with me, refusing to let go. "Letitia, the guards need to take her away," I whispered softly, trying again to move her away from the body as gently as I could, but she held onto the maid, shaking her head. "No, I'm not leaving her. I need to keep her warm," she mutters, looking frantic. "She is so cold, Darium. I need to keep her warm. I need to keep her warm," she kept repeating, brushing her hand on the girl's hair. I pulled her head to my chest, running my hands up and down her back while she continued crying. "It's okay, shhhhhh. Edlardi, the little bird. Everything is going to be okay." I refuse to believe that she is gone, Darium. She can't be gone, she mutters against my chest. "I'm dreaming, that is what it is. It's all a dream." She let go of the maid, hugging me back tightly as she cried, burying her face more deeply into my chest. "How can this happen?" Hiccups. "How can this happen?" I kissed the top of her head, trying to calm her down as the guards lifted the dead maid's body. Letitia moved her face from my chest, watching them walk away with tear-stained faces. "Edlardi, little bird," I called out to her, pulling her chin towards me. Cupping her cheek with both hands, I used my thumbs to wipe the tears off her face, but they kept falling down. The look in her eyes was shattering, emanating the pain, sadness, and anguish she was feeling. Her eyes widened for a second before she clapped her hand on my lips, no doubt trying to hold back vomit. She hurriedly got up to her feet and raced out of the room, and her handmaid followed behind her. What happened? Nico spoke from behind me, causing me to spin around before rising back up. The palace seemed to be uptight, everyone looked shaken. Not to mention the blood on the floor. He carried on, nodding towards the red stain on the rug. I let out a sigh, glancing between him and Neith, who had a worried look on their faces. A maid died. What? What do you mean a maid is dead? They both voiced their shock at the same time. How come? Do you know which maid? Neith asked. Letitia's handmaid, I answered, disregarding the how, since I wasn't sure yet how she died. Kiva is dead. Which one? The both of them once again spoke together, with Neith letting out a loud gasp. Gala. The heavens, is Letitia okay? I shook my head at Neith's question, letting out yet another sigh. I better go check on her. I can't believe this happened, she must be devastated. I will appreciate it if you do, and can you also inform her other handmaid to come see me? She nodded, rushing out without any delay. Do you have any idea what happened? Nico asked from beside me, and I shook my head again. I have no clue what happened, but I plan on finding out. I say to him, staring at the blood on the floor.
Darylyn's POV.
I will get the maids to clean that up. Nico stated this, and I nodded before walking out of the room to my study. It wasn't up to 5 minutes after I walked in when a knock, which resonated from the other side of the door. I let out a quick come in, and the door pulled open with the maid walking in. She looked nervous, fiddling with her finger while keeping her head down. You called for me, Your Majesty. You have worked alongside the other maid for months. Do you know if she was threatened or going through something? I'm not sure, Your Majesty. She answered meekly. Why don't you try thinking about it a bit more? Do not leave anything behind. Even the littlest of things. She gulped, her head still cast down. I don't know if she was being threatened or not, but I did notice her spacing out a lot. It got worse than when she even caused a bit of a mishap earlier. She paused, taking a deep breath. I honestly don't know what could have happened, but she went to heat up the queen meal, and I decided to go check up on her, but didn't find her in the kitchen. Then I decided to go look for her when I heard a scream, and when I got there, she was lying on the floor in the pool of her blood with another maid who had found her in the room. Do you know who the maid is? I asked, and she nodded. I have seen her in the kitchen most of the time. Good. Tell her I wish to speak to her. You are dismissed. Yes, Your Majesty. She bowed, making her way out of the study. The only way to find out the cause of death is to get Luca to examine the body. I took a deep breath, and my mind wandered off to Letitia. I got up from my seat and decided to go check on her myself, making my way out of the study to our chamber. I knocked softly on the door before slowly pulling it open. Hey, Neith said from across the room, standing close to the window. How is she? She's not doing so well. It's a miracle that she stopped crying and managed to sleep off. I glanced at Letitia's sleeping form as I walked over to the bed. Thanks for looking after her. It's no problem. I can't imagine the amount of pain she is going through. I just hope she overcomes it. Neith responded, giving Letitia one last look before making her way out of the room. Letitia's face creased like she was having a bad dream, letting out a whimper that caused me to cup her cheek. I run my fingers along her cheek, and she eases up, snuggling closer to me. I leaned down to peck her forehead, lying beside her as I pulled her body closer to me, wrapping my arms around her.
Letitia's POV.
Letitia. I stepped away from the window, turning back to see Darium taking slow strides towards me. My mind had been so clouded that I didn't hear him walk in. I came to check up on you and see how you are doing. He said this, coming to stand beside me. It's been 2 days since Gala was found lifeless on the floor of the palace, 2 days since the mystery of her death, and 2 days since I bawled my eyes out till there were no more tears left to shed, leaving me void. I wish I could say I'm fine, but I'm not. I muttered, staring into his eyes. I'm anything but fine. These past few days have been a never-ending roller coaster, Darium. I still haven't managed to overcome the thought of losing a child, and now I've lost someone dear to me. Right now, every anger I felt towards him had all vanished. I felt too weak right now to feel any disdain towards anyone at the moment. I was tired of the distance between us, and all I wanted to do was run into his embrace and seek his comfort. His eyes held sorrow in them as he stared at me before taking a step closer to me and hauling me into a hug. It's understandable, losing someone is always heartbreaking and hard to bear. With the passing of time, it will get better. I can't help but feel at fault. I whispered. I knew that something was up with her, and I should have investigated it and coerced her until she told me everything. Maybe then she won't be dead. He took a step back, cupping both of my cheeks. His eyes never wavered from mine as his fingers caressed my cheek in a consoling manner. You had no control over what happened, and I wish for nothing more than to shield you from ever experiencing such pain and grief, but I know that I would just be making wordless promises. Death is inevitable. We all, at some point, have to leave this world. This is something you have no control over. It's not like you have superpowers to foresee the end of everyone close and dear to you, so don't blame this on yourself. It's not fair, Darium. That someone would do such a thing, snatch the life out of a promising young girl for reasons unknown. I stated this, fighting back the tears. Etlardi, little bird. She was murdered here in this palace. I cut him off as I carried on talking. How do I break the news to her family, who rely so heavily on her? How can I face her family and tell them their daughter's life was ripped from them? I can't. I cried out. I can't face them and tell them such news. I buried my face back on his chest, my hand clenching onto his shirts, as the tears I thought were dried up began falling off my eyes again. Darium's arms wrapped around mine, hugging me tightly while I cried. He didn't say anything because he didn't have to. His presence, embrace, and warmth were enough to console me, holding me as I let out the pain I felt. His fingers swayed up and down my back, and he occasionally placed kisses on my head, whispering soft, encouraging words to my ears. After I was able to get a hold of myself, I sniffled, taking a step back but still buckling in his hold. My teary eyes gazed up at him, and his fingers lifted up to wipe the tears off my face. I won't rest till I find out who did this. That is one thing I can promise you, Letitia. What happened 2 days ago won't go unpunished, and whoever was involved in the death of your handmaid won't go unaccounted for. That I promise. His voice was filled with such certainty that I knew he meant every word he said and was ready to leave no stone unturned until the truth was out. I nod, closing my eyes for a brief moment and feeling the hotness of them before pulling them open. Nodding again. And about informing her family, I can have Neith or someone else do it. You don't have to force yourself to do it if it's too painful for you. Shaking my head at his words. No, I said. I should be the one to do it. It is the right thing to do. No matter how pained I am, I doubt it would be nothing compared to what they would feel once the news is passed to them. His thumb caressed my cheek, and he sighed. I don't intend to let you do this alone. Make no doubt, I will be with you every step of the way. He said it with utmost sincerity. A burial arrangement will be made once her family arrives. By then, Luca will be able to denote the cause of death. Thank you, Darium. I muttered, wetting my lips nervously. I'm sorry for the way I treated you and how I blamed everything on you even when I knew it wasn't your fault, but I have realized that life is too short to be lived in sadness and divisiveness with the one you love. Right now, all I want is to spend every waking moment with you, making the most of our time here on Earth. I feel the same way, Etlardi, little bird. He said it with a smile on his face. You don't have to apologize for what happened between us these past few weeks. I was still at fault. I did what I thought was best for you, not thinking about the outcome of it, which led me to spend these wretched days without you. I hurt you, and I want to once again apologize for that. He placed his forehead on mine, our lips a breath apart. I love you, Letitia. I love you too, Darium. I muttered before closing the gap, capturing his lips in mine. I struggled not to whimper at how great it felt to feel his lips on mine again. Our lips danced together, moving in perfect sync. My arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him even closer. All I wanted to do was melt against his touch. His tongue darted inside my mouth, exploring every inch as our tongues fought for dominance. The kiss, though slow, was very passionate. I know we were both making up for the time we were apart, having missed such intimacy with one another. Darium takes a step back, breaking the kiss. A smile on his face, which I reciprocated. How I've missed him. Not able to stop myself, I brought his lips back to mine, exploring every inch of him. This time the kiss was heated, neither of us was ready to end it, so we carried on making up for our time apart. Though nothing more happened, we spent the rest of the day in each other's embrace while I struggled not to think about Gala, knowing that I wouldn't be able to stop the tears from falling. After all, I had lost a good friend and sister.